right, with Edwin McCain right now. You know, I tell you, when I was like 22, Edwin, I saved up money. Maybe I was 21. Saved up money. You were playing at Ouachita Baptist University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
I remember this.
No way.
Yes, of course I do, because they were very, very stressed out about language.
Really?
Yeah, no, we got a lecture about being careful about what I said on stage. I remember that.
That makes sense.
Specifically.
It was a Baptist school.
Yep.
And I did not go to that school. I went to the poor kids school across the street. But I was so pumped you were coming. And I went and I got tickets and I was in the very back. And it was just you and a horn player.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the coolest freaking show because it was you playing and singing with a horn, so which leaves your voice very exposed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And as I got older and I started to tour and do comedy and do music, I went, you know what, here's the thing about Edwin. And I remember thinking about you vividly in that show. I said, smart guy, knew he could do it and didn't have to pay a whole band.
Yeah. Well, it was versatile. You know, we had these, I can play up and down. So all the way up to 90-piece orchestra, all the way down to me and a guitar. So it just seemed like it made sense to be able to sort of meet all moments, be able to work in any setting. I started out by myself busking. So, that's always sort of been part of the deal, just to always be ready to go, ready to play.
What's your busking experience?
I used to play on the street in Charleston during Spoleto. They have this arts and music festival. And so I'd throw a guitar case out there and play whatever 9 songs I knew over and over again. And then there was a manager at this restaurant right next to where I was busking that said, hey, if I pay you $75 and give you a meal, can you play for 4 hours up on this deck? And I was like, absolutely. And I went and dropped out of college the next day. I was like, I'm rich.
So you quit school for that job?
Yes, I did. I was such an idiot. I mean, literally was like, I was at the registrar's office when she got there and unlocked the door. I was like, yeah, I'm out. I have hit the big time.
When you're busking, was the goal to get better singing, or was it just to make a few bucks to put you through school?
No, it was just honestly, it was almost like a challenge. It was like, are you crazy enough to sit out here and sing for people, strangers? Are you crazy enough to try to sing for strangers and actually entertain them? And if you can do that, maybe there's a chance. And I think that's one of the things I tell kids all the time too. And credit where credit's due. I had a guitar teacher, this guy named Tom Yoder, who is this shredder guy, and he's an unbelievable electric guitar player. And he was the professor at Coastal Carolina, where I spent one semester, and so I took a guitar class. And I had to play in front of the class, and he said, he just basically demanded that I go out and start playing in front of people. And he just said, look, you got to get out there and play in front of people. And if you don't play in front of people, you'll never know what you're doing. And I encourage that to all the younger people I work with now. It's like, it's great to sit and perfect things in your bedroom and film yourself and edit things and you look beautiful and it sounds beautiful and all these things, but that's not compelling. What's compelling to people is authenticity. What people seek authenticity, and death by perfection is a real thing. And unless you're willing to go out there and just struggle in front of people, they don't care about you. Like I think audiences are drawn to your effort because you become the ambassador of possibility. You become what they hope to be. Something. You know what I'm saying? Like walking out onto a stage and especially when maybe it's not your crowd and it's a challenge to try to win this audience, and that is not something you can learn just sitting in your room, honing your craft.
Yeah.
You got to get out. Not to be too on the point, but you got to go out there and just bomb sometimes. You got to just absolutely, and even to this day, I mean, even at my shows, like I've had those nights where I've played this place in Virginia. It's a very well respected listening room. I'll spare the name, but I knew that it was a very discerning, songwriting crowd, and I was like, I want to come out here and do something different. And so for whatever reason, I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but I walked out on stage and played the absolute saddest song I have, just the gut-wrenchingest, most depressing song I have as an opener. For what reason, I still haven't figured out, right? And I ruined the room. I absolutely spoiled this room. I finished the song. There wasn't a sound. And after about, it felt like an hour, but probably 30 seconds, this guy on the front row goes, "Yeah, what else you got?"
It's good to be checked, right?
And it happens all the time. And if it's great. It's all part of it. I don't know. I love it.
For me, the struggle is if I'm going to go do stand up at the Opry, where that's not my crowd. They've come to watch a bunch of different acts in country music. Some of them may know who I am from the radio show or TV, but most don't. And they also did not come to watch comedy.
Right.
And so I know that that's going to be the hard. And they're also the Opry has an older crowd.
Oh yeah, it skews way older. Yeah.
And any pop culture reference, no good. I have to throw out jokes, and I'm going out there just trying to get by, but I respect it so much more when I'm done, and I'm like, dang, I just grew a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
Like when I can beat that crowd,
right.
When that's my crowd,
yeah, I mean,
I'm just skewering them.
Yeah, it's a layup, right? It's almost, I don't know if you're like this, but I enjoy it more when it's dangerous. Like it's easy to walk up there in front of people.
Well, you're elite though. There's
like
a difference. You're elite, so you probably need that thrill.
No, I'm not elite at all. I'm tragically. This is the weirdest thing about where I live in the music business is that I'm so stubborn. I have this oppositional defiance it's been a career. I mean, from some perspectives would be a career killer. Just
within yourself or to other people?
Within myself, like I just can't do anything easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to, I realized really quickly once I was in the major label sort of paradigm that I wasn't going to want to. I tried to do the thing and wear the clothes and do the stuff, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. And I was like, oh God, this is terrible. And I got to go back to being this, independent, stubborn, independent guy that drives his own 25-year-old bus and has to change tires, and it's got to be hard or it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Why is that? Why are you so reluctant to success?
I don't know. I think I blame Southern California punk music. I was like 15 and I was into all that. Like it's unlistenable now, right? If you ever gone back and tried to listen to Husker Du, you can't listen to 30 seconds of it. It's awful.
I don't even know who that is.
Right. So anyway, so it was all this like punk music for the sake of itself, right? And it was this voice of our weird little generation, and it got in my soul. And now my son has a huge dose of the same thing, so I know it's genetic. Is just if there's an easy way to do something, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to fall down the stairs, break my arm, struggle my way all the way back to the out to the backyard where everybody has been happily enjoying their picnic, while I show up bloody and bruised. I mean, it's a character flaw, and I've accepted it.
Your son, how old's your son?
My middle son, Dr. Evil. No, he's 14.
So you have teenagers. How are you able to explain to them how freaking popular you were for a period of time?
They don't care. Like if I started to explain any of that, like it's the best part about it. Like, so it's how I know I'm doing it right. Like they feel like my son tries to make me listen to Drake. And I told him one time, I was like, look, buddy, I think I feel about Drake the same way my dad felt about Van Halen. So we're doing it right. Like, I'm not supposed to understand why you like Lil Uzi Vert, you know?
He's got a diamond in his head.
Right,
now.
that's you. Yeah. That's your music. This is your stuff, and I'm not supposed to understand it. It's not supposed to be for me. And if I do like it, you should be worried, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is your. It's your. This is you. Got to figure out your world, but they don't. They don't get it. They do get the song, like the significance of the song, because the song is much bigger than I ever was or would ever be. The song sort of became its own entity, which is part of the reason, part of the reason why I've always just sort of been grateful for that and not tried to be equal to it, because it's like a one in a jillion. It's a one in a. I mean, it's more than that. It's crazy. It's 22 years later, and it goes and goes and goes. And people are like, "When are you going to put out a new record?" I'm like, "I'm not." Like, are you going to buy a new record from me? No. Like, I go out on the tours and play. I play probably 75 shows a year still, and I'll walk out on stage and go, "Tonight I'm going to play all new songs," and everybody goes, "Oh no," because I get it, right? I mean, they don't want that. You know?
So you talk about this. Let's start with. I was gonna wait a second, but let's play a clip of this for everybody. Everybody knows it, but this song here, did it happen? And then a label heard it, or did a label say, "Hey, you're really good. Write us something"? Like, what was it?
I was on Atlantic.
So you already had a deal.
So here's the backstory. So we were playing like all the bands in the Southeast. We were playing fraternities. I remember a weekend where Dave Matthews, Hootie and the Blowfish, us, the Grapes, and Jacko Pierce were playing on Fraternity Row at Washington and Lee University.
Same school.
The same school, the same weekend. Like, all just playing in the fraternity houses. And then 6 months later, everybody's playing amphitheaters. And of course, we weren't amphitheater ready, but we were opening for Hootie. And of course, the Hootie guys, essentially what they did and what Darius and all the guys did for me was I was sort of like their little brother. And they were on the ride. They were getting signed and they were going for the big ride. And they said, "Hey, why don't you come with us?" And they literally just let me go on the ride with them. I was nobody. I was like, I was an opening act. And so, Darius, how cool is this? Darius tells Atlantic, "Look, I'll appear on his first single with him if you'll sign him." And what are they going to say? This is the biggest band they got. Oh, yeah. Okay. So essentially, they take me on the ride. Darius appears in the first video for a song called Solitude. And now I'm on the label, and they don't really want me. They weren't really interested in me. They just did it because Darius made them do it. And so my boss at the time, I was on a subsidiary label called Lava, and it was run by a guy named Jason Flom, who's still to this day one of my dear friends and an incredible human being. Jason had gone to a department head meeting with Atlantic, and my first record sold, I don't know, a couple 100,000 records, which back then in '95 was horrible. Like 200,000 records, it's not worth their time. So he calls me and says, he used to call me Jethro. "Jethro, just left a department head meeting. They're going to drop you if you don't turn in something great." Okay, I said. "I got something I've been working on. I feel pretty good about it. I'll get back to you." Click, pull out all the scraps of paper from my duffel bag and throw them out on the coffee table. And 20 minutes later, I've written this half-court hook shot at the buzzer, and it goes in. But here's the story nobody knows, and I think the statute of limitations has run out by now. So the record company didn't care about us. So they said, all right, we'll put this song out on 3 stations. Test it. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, and I don't even know where else. Like one other station. I can't remember where. Well, my manager at the time was a friend of mine from college, and I said, look, how bad do we want this? You know, this is our last shot. And after this, I'm back to cooking pizzas at Sharky's, and you're back to doing whatever you were going to do. And so we gathered up whatever money we had, and we sent friends of ours to these cities to buy the records from the record stores. And we did. And so we had them calling the radio. We had street teams. We had all my college friends buying records, and then they'd send them to us in little boxes, and then we would resell them at our shows, and it would double the SoundScan numbers. And so what we did was we made this little blip of spin to sale ratio in 3 cities, which obviously that was sustainable for about, considering the money we had, was about 2 weeks. we made the numbers like blip for about 2 weeks. And somebody at Atlantic went, wait, there's a spin to sale ratio happening here. And then they put the song on Dawson's Creek. And it went from 3,000 records a week to 35,000 records a week. And in other places too, not just the places you were going. To buy records, yeah. Right. So it went from 3,000. Yeah, it was nationwide. So basically, what we did was we sat there and we blew on the little embers. We made a little fire and we went, and it actually worked. And that song basically saved my life over and over again, which is funny. Why when people go, well, do you ever get tired of singing that song? No, that song is the magic carpet that I still currently ride on every single day of my life. It's ridiculous.
When you wrote it and you finished it, were you like, okay, this is it? Or were you going, all right, God, I hope to God this is it?
And I want to be real clear about this. I don't say this it's not egocentric. I got really emotional about it. When I finished it, my nose was running and I was emotional, and I knew that something was there. I knew it was there. But here's the thing: I also am dear friends with Angie Aparo, right? And I know that like beauty and talent and staggeringly artistic work doesn't necessarily translate into success, because I've seen so many unbelievably talented, incredibly talented people. Maya Sharp is another person. She should be as big as any name you've ever heard of, if it's just down to talent and writing. But I know that that's not it. So the other part of that was the shuck and jive, right? So now we have this song. What else are we willing to do to make this happen, right? And I played on the top of low-power radio vans in Manhattan. They stuck me on top of a van and had a low-power FM transmitter, and I would ride around on top of that thing because somebody at Atlantic thought that was a good idea. And I played pool parties for radio stations in Omaha, and I mean, I actually played in a drive-through at a Krispy Kreme while people came through and got married yes. If you came up with a radio promotion idea, I would do it. The only answer I ever gave was yes, because I realized that I was not wanted. I mean, I had secretly gotten the code to the weekly internal conference call they had at Atlantic, because I talked this girl into giving it to me so I could listen in to what they were talking about. And also got a copy of the internal report. It was the Thursday Morning Reporter. And we weren't ever even on it. Like they would rank the bands like importance with the label. We weren't even part of the conversation. Like we planned the releases of our albums when we knew nobody else had anything coming out. Like no other band was releasing anything on Atlantic. That's when we would put our records out because that way we knew they had to do something, you know? I mean, it was all, as much as I want to say the song is the song, but then there's this whole other component of strategy that had to be employed, or you don't really have a career unless you're willing to do that, right? And I remember I used to have spiral notebooks with all the program directors that could potentially play my songs. And I would get up at 8 o'clock every morning and just start calling them. And I had notes to the side of the last time I had called, whether I actually talked to them, what we talked about, or if I just had left a message. And I just started banging the phones. And I just became, it was either you're either going to add it or you're going to be so annoyed with me, we'll eventually be friends, you know? And I still have program director friends to this day. They're like, God, you were so obnoxious. But what are you willing to do?
At what point did it go from you having to hustle to you just holding on to the rocket ship?
After the Dawson's Creek thing, it was insane. But that was the difference when like when they when a major company turns on the juice, when they turn on all the force and of the promotional machine they have, where all they got to do is pick up the phone and you're on Leno and you're on Letterman and you're on every talk show, and now you're doing anthems for all the major sporting events, and it's you're just hanging on. But then the challenge is, and I see this a lot, because you've been hand to mouth for a decade before this moment, and because you've played every single gig that anybody's ever offered you, and you don't ever say no to anything, all of a sudden there's no way to say yes to everything, yet you still try, and you create complete imbalance at one point, we had been on the road for like 11 months or 10 months or something. And they didn't even know we were still out, but they were paying for a tour bus. And we were like, well, we're not turning this back in. And so we would play anywhere. And it just got to a point where it was a total imbalance of life. And I was just 320 something shows. It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, it was one of those, you have to live through it to learn how to say no,
What was the stage that you were on? It doesn't have to be a literal stage, but you go, because I'm lucky a few times in my life I've been able to look around. Once Seacrest went down and I hosted American Idol, right? I work on the show, but Seacrest went down. There's only two hosts of that show ever. And they were like, hey, we need you to host. And I don't have a lot of moments where I can look at myself and go, hey, this is really big, this is cool. But I'm under the American Idol moniker, which is about as big as of a brand of a TV show that's existed in the States. And I'm like, I cannot believe this. I'm hosting this freaking show. Like, for you, what was one of those moments where you're like, geez, man, I'm the guy busking in South Carolina, and now here I am doing what?
I mean, almost every single day still, even now. Like, I can't believe I get to do what I do even now. Like, I'm sitting here, like, honestly, I was telling a friend driving here, I was like, I have no idea why Bobby is bringing me to Nashville to do an interview.
Well, here's why. Let me answer.
Like, I'm like, what is,
know.
I am the least relevant person in this industry right now.
Here's why, and then I'll have you finish answering that question. One, I was always a big fan. Like, first and foremost, like, I did not have money, and I saved up and bought tickets to your show, right? So for me, I was a fan. Secondly, I watch you on TikTok. And so it was the two worlds colliding. And I was talking to my producer, and I was like, who I'd really like to have up here, who looks like just a really interesting guy to be around, is Edwin McCain. And he was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I think he still lives in South Carolina. And that is the genesis of me being a fan and then watching you now, and here you are.
It's incredible. It's amazing. But if I'm going back to a point where I couldn't believe, I played a show with Ray Charles and Michael McDonald I was just being included in these moments where I was like, if I just kept waiting for the guys in black suits to show up and go, look, man, there's been a huge mistake here.
Did you ever feel like you did not have the talent though to be included?
Every day of my
you did?
life. Every day of my life, I think I have those voices in my head.
Imposter syndrome?
Oh God, I have those voices in my head that are like, dude, you are the biggest used car salesman. And I'm not, I have those voices that scream at me, but I love singing and playing for people. And I love the emotion. And I love that moment when a crowd becomes the completion of the art. You know, that something personal to me has gotten to a moment where an audience understands, and you can't, there's no amount of money or fame or accolades that come even close to touching that. And so I found that even before the Atlantic stuff, and I still mercifully get to have that in these little venues that I play to this day, and I'm fiercely protective of it, to the point where I don't play as many shows as I could, because I don't ever want to jeopardize my opportunity to go out there and play it. I'll sit in an excavator and dig dirt for half the year just so that I can play my 70 shows that are beautiful and special. You know what I'm saying? Like that's more important to me at this moment. And plus I love being home with my kids, and I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, I'd gotten to a point, and I'm going to, I got into a point where I was resenting going on stage.
Why?
Because we were playing so much and so many. It wasn't. It was turning into have to, and it was all about money, and everybody. You know, there were a lot of people that rely on you when you start to earn a certain amount of money. Everybody thinks it's all going to you, but it's not going to you. There's 30 people that are making a living on the money that you're generating, and they don't. It's not in their interest to help you have balance. It's how many shows can we play? How many, and so that was sort of I kind of had to have that in my personal life, there was a reckoning. There was a moment in 2007 where my life was completely out of balance and out of hand. And I had to throw up my hands and, you know, say help and go to rehab and get my, you know, start all over again, I guess, you know. And that was the, you know, and I talk to a lot of people in recovery, and I try to help as much as I can for, you know, help people into recovery because of that experience, you know. And people don't naturally know how to create balance in their life. You know, we know how to create momentum. Man, we can get going fast. Everybody knows how to create momentum, but balance is something that you have to be taught.
It is such a opportune time for you to come and have this conversation, because I know you're talking into a microphone, but I feel like you're talking to me without even knowing it. I'll tell you, in my personal life, even just yesterday, my fiance and I were talking. I've had to hustle every freaking second to get here. I mean, just kill myself. And now for the first time in my life, people start to think I'm cool, and they're offering me jobs, and I got this TV show, that TV. And I can't turn anything down, because I'm afraid that if I turn it down, I'm never going to get another offer again the rest of my life.
And you go to yourself, am I really going to sit here this weekend and know that I've got some $35,000 appearance that I'm not going to go do? And I'm going to be able to sit here and enjoy my weekend knowing that I'm leaving this huge payday on the table? That's a real thing. And I can hear people out there going, wah. You know, I can hear them out there saying, wah. But I promise you that it took it took this 70-year-old guy, this friend of mine. He's my oldest non-related friend, this guy named the Mole. And the Mole said to me, he pulled me aside one time. He goes, look, while your kids are little and while you have a good life going right now, those gigs are always going to be there. You know, that golf course will always be there. That, you know, be home and be a part of the special parts of your life. And for some reason that hit hard enough for me to you know, I took it to heart and just rearranged how I do things. Now, I say that, but it takes years to be able to dial it down a little bit, because you can't just go, okay, today, right? You just have to incrementally dial it down and start to just gently put the boundaries out there for people so that you can have balance, because otherwise you're no good to anybody, especially yourself. Like me, I know for me, I was useless. By the time I hit the wall, I was suicidal and I was done. I was done with life. And I had a lot of money. So that wasn't it. You know, it comes down to, and I say this all the time, the currency in this life is the relationships that you have, the friendships that you're blessed to be a part of, and the opportunity that you're given to be someone that somebody else can count on. Like, I say this to my kids all the time. Are you somebody that other people can count on, that they can rely on? And that's the thing. That's it. I mean, that's it. That's all there is. The rest of it is fireworks.
You still love playing.
Oh, more than anything. I love it. I love it more now than I ever did. But it took me. It took. I had to go touch the flame. Now, don't get me wrong, though. See, this is the thing. This is just me, because I know a lot of people that are super great at being famous, and they love it, and they love the whole thing, and I just wasn't one of them. I just wasn't any good at it.
I gotta imagine you get a lot of requests for weddings.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, I've done a lot of weddings. Yes. Sorry, I'm answering. Let me make a 1,000-word answer out of one. Let me answer. Yes, I do.
You have a song that has, heck, I saw Justin Bieber singing this song.
When for a minute, everybody was blaming me. I was like, dude, he sang the song. Everybody loves it. What are you talking about?
It's a universally loved song. And it is a universal love song I see in movies, TV shows. You ever just go grocery shopping and you're like, what the crap? Tell me about ham.
Dude, Home Depot.
Yeah.
Every time I walk in Home Depot. And the best part about it is I always make a scene if my kids are in there. I'm like, kids. And I'll accidentally knock stuff over and go, oh, I'm sorry. I was listening to that awesome song. And I couldn't. Kids, listen. This song's going to pay for one of you to go to college.
And you wrote this by yourself.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine the checks are still coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Publishing.
No, they do. But you know, yes. But I don't, you know what I mean? That money helps.
No, listen,
do a lot of good stuff.
This is a very in the weeds music interview podcast. We have publishers come on. So like a lot of people that work in the music industry listen to this for those exact type of questions. Not look how rich I am, but it's like if you write a song that sustains at different levels, you can continue to make money off of it. Right.
And yes, you absolutely can. And what's interesting is that, and I really have not been a very good custodian of my publishing catalog, because like during the pandemic, I was like, maybe we ought to try to like go back and look at all the stacks of paperwork here and figure out if any of this crap means stuff. It's like, oh, look, Malaysia. You know, are we supposed to be getting money from Kuala Lumpur? Because I think maybe that's a thing. And yeah, I have a friend of mine who's now helping me. He's a music business attorney. He's really great. And he's like, he called me the other day. He's like, respectfully, you're an idiot. You know that, right? You know, you're out there like doing forestry mulching for people in the swamp, yet your publishing catalog is in complete disarray. I'm like, well, that's your job. You're supposed to fix that for me. So yeah, I'm not one of those guys. I just like, if you want to put me into a coma, please just put a spreadsheet in front of me and tell me that it matters, and I'm instantly asleep. So yeah, I should care more than I do.
Let me play a few of these. Give us a clip of I'll Be. Everybody knows. Let's remind them again. Can you still hit those notes like that?
Yeah, it's funny. Yes, I can. And every night, though, when I'm singing the high note, I always go, freaking 25-year-old me, jackass.
Why'd you have to sing it like that?
Man, why don't you put it in the key of B, you dumbass? Like, that won't be hard to sing when you're 51.
Do you ever? You
can't drop it a half step.
That's what I was gonna say.
Got a sax player. Sax players don't like it when you throw a capo on or drop it a half step. And he's been playing with me for 30 years. So he's our tour manager. So if I did that to him, then I would end up sleeping in the conference room on the cot every night, in the hotels. Actually, I'm lying. This is how cheap we are. He and I share a room when we're on tour. To this day, 30 years we've been playing together. But I have mostly the same band and crew I've had for this entire time, which, and loyalty's kind of expensive, but I stand by it. I think, what's the best story, man? We started this journey together 30 years, and because of what we did, we all pay our rent and eat, and, cool. That's a cool story. We started out in a van that I bought in Atlanta for $500. I put a $1,500 stereo in it, and 30 years later, look where we are, still playing music.
I could not ask for more. Jam. Could not ask for more. Then you hit it hard here. I could not ask for more. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
That was before auto-tune, too, you jackasses. Everything sounds so perfect. Everybody sounds perfect.
How many times would you have to sing those to sing it down? Could you walk in and sing it down and then walk out?
I'm gonna flex a little bit here. I wish I could get Noel Golden on the phone, our engineer, for him to tell you that I could walk in and take it. And it really, if you don't get it in the first couple of takes, you need to leave, because by the third or fourth take, man, they're just reading a Hallmark card. It's not there. You're not there. And plus, back then, too,
back then, tape was expensive.
Those reels of tape, man. Every time you burned a reel of tape, that was like $500. So when that red light came on, you better have your shit together, because this is expensive, And oh God, we were. I think back to that. I used to play 10 shows a week in Hilton Head, and then I had that old van, and I had a love seat that I bought from Goodwill in the back of it, and I slept in this van. But I'd play my 10 shows, and I'd get all the money from my shows, and then I'd drive to Augusta, Georgia, and sleep in my van in the parking lot, and then walk in with my little bag of money and give it to Howard Warmoth at Studio South, and we would record a song. I would just basically walk in, deliver all the money, and then we made an independent record. Guys, and it's unlistenable now, but
it's like the punk record.
I just thought it was so great, but we did stuff on that record. Like, I didn't know I shouldn't bring a whole choir in and do a whole song with them. Like I was doing stuff when I was 18 that I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, right? But that was it. And it was just figure it out, figure out how we're going to do it.
Let me play some of Hearts Fall.
God, don't let me break your heart. God, don't let me break.
Do you still sing all these?
I haven't sung that one. But I have been, during the pandemic, people have been getting me to play all these old songs, and I have to go to YouTube and find some guy in Poland that'll show me how to play my song, I actually had somebody send me a YouTube clip of this dude from Poland playing one of our songs called Promise of You. And I'm watching the dude play it, And I was like, that is a way better way of playing this song than the way I play it. So now I do it his way. The internet it teaches me everything. I play a lot of those songs. They come in rotation. There's like a core group of songs I know that my audience is going to want to hear. So
Solitude for sure. Like that's the jam.
That one comes and goes. I was thinking actually when I first got here, when Patty Griffin released this album called Living with Ghosts, I became completely enamored with her because that album is ridiculous. It's so fantastic, the songwriting and her singing and everything about her, right? And so at the time, we were doing really well, and I just sent the word out. I was like, any tour date she wants, she should be able to have. So, and not thinking at all that, she probably isn't going to want to play the NASCAR barbecue beer slide that we're playing. Because, I would play anywhere. I would play any place on earth. And then here's, sweet Patty, and we took her, we dragged her around all these horrible gigs. And I got to see her, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I got to at least apologize to her for all these insane gigs we dragged her to back in the day. Because I was so in love, and I still am. I mean, I think, and it's one of those things, and I'd said to people at the time when I heard her first record, I'd said, this is undeniable. You watch. I don't care how long it takes. This girl is going to be considered in terms of the all-time greats. And people are like, what are you talking about, man? I was like, trust me. You can't, this is undeniable right here. You can't stop the real thing. And I love being right like that too, right? I get to go back and rub everybody's nose in it because so amazing. So amazing.
Well, listen, we've been here for 45 minutes. This has been exciting for me to be able to do. I'm just a fan. I was a fan. And then when I saw you again on TikTok, I was like, we got to get him back up here. Everybody follow Edwin on TikTok. He sits in his room. He plays. I guess the first one that I saw, though, was you doing the duets where people hop on and duet with you and sing the other side of it.
And you know whose idea that was? My friend Mike Corrado, who's just retired from the Marine Corps. He hit me up and he's like, dude, you need to do this thing on TikTok where you duet it. And I was like, well, okay. Because I didn't know any better. And it just went crazy. And then the whole Brittany Moore thing.
Man, Brittany Moore, who is a really good singer.
I saw that song. Well, I saw your challenge, and I saw her come on and sing Jesus and Janice, and I was like, well, that song's fantastic because that speaks to me. And the whole TikTok thing, what I love about it is how, people are just trying to figure it out. Right. And there's a lot of people, I mean, there's a bunch of static on there too, but there's a lot of people that are authentically trying to understand each other and they're trying to be helpful. And there's a lot of really funny people out
It's
there.
the best for funny content. I can sit and watch forever and laugh.
Yeah. And just, I mean, that's one of before that, I guess my TikTok was comment sections of any YouTube video. People are funny, man. I mean, that is one of the things, I hold, the great hope in humanity in the just ridiculously funny nature. People are hysterical. They're great.
Well, thank you. I know we're going to do something, too, on the radio show where you're going to play.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, coming up and entertaining a fan. That's what this is for me. So
I'm honored. I'm very honored.
Thanks for spending close to an hour with me here.
I love it.
And then I can't wait to hear you perform. And I don't have to pay for a ticket and sit in the back this time. I can sit up front and for free. It's like the opposite from when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I was broke. I had to save up for a ticket and sit in the back. Now, I ain't broke. I'm sitting up front, and I got a free ticket.
That's awesome.
All right, Edwin McCain. You guys go follow him on TikTok. Follow him everywhere. Good to talk to you. Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. It's Bobby Bones. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and then go check it out. A lot of artists, a lot of songwriters, a lot of music. Welcome to the Bobby Cash channel.